Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty watching the massive alien ships appear in space. The enemy fleet looked like floating cities made of dark metal and glowing lights. Each ship was 50 times bigger than his own vessel. His crew of 200 people seemed very small compared to what they faced. Lieutenant Amy Walsh turned from her station with wide eyes. She had been listening to the alien message for several minutes. The translation software was working hard to make sense of the strange language. When she finally understood the words, her face went pale. "Captain, they are demanding our complete surrender," she said in a quiet voice. "They want us to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. They say resistance will result in total destruction of our ship and everyone on Earth." Commander Ben Rogers looked at the tactical display showing 40 enemy warships. The computer was trying to calculate their firepower, but kept showing error messages. The alien technology was too advanced for their systems to fully understand. What they could see was scary enough. Each enemy ship had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. "Sir, what are your orders?" Rogers asked. His voice stayed calm, but everyone could feel the tension in the air. The bridge crew waited for their captain to speak. Some of them had families back on Earth. Others were young officers on their first deep space mission. Harrison walked to the main view screen where the alien fleet dominated the display. The enemy ships moved in perfect formation like a school of metal fish swimming through the darkness of space. Their hulls reflected the light from nearby stars, creating patterns that hurt to look at for too long. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Harrison said with a strange smile on his face. "Tell Admiral Peterson we are about to test our new systems under combat conditions. Also send them all our sensor data on these alien ships." Amy worked at her console, sending the encrypted message, "Back to Earth." The signal would take several minutes to reach home, even at light speed. By then, the battle might already be over. She wondered if anyone would ever know what happened out here in the cold emptiness between the stars. The alien admiral spoke again through the communication system. His voice sounded like grinding metal mixed with the hiss of escaping gas. The translation made his words sound even more threatening. He gave them exactly 1 hour to surrender or face complete annihilation. Dr. Lisa Carter arrived on the bridge carrying a data pad filled with technical readings. As the chief science officer, she had been monitoring their ship systems since the aliens arrived. The readings showed something very interesting that made her smile just like the captain. "The alien weapons are charging up," she reported. "But, sir, our defensive systems are showing green across the board. The modifications we made during the last refit are working perfectly. We are ready for whatever they throw at us." Harrison nodded and turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge was looking at him, waiting for orders. Some looked scared, while others seemed excited. All of them trusted their captain to make the right choice. They had trained for this moment, but nobody really knew what would happen. "Listen carefully, everyone," Harrison said in a clear voice. "These aliens think they know everything about human technology. They looked at our ships and decided we are primitive and weak. They made the same mistake that bullies always make. They judged us by how we look instead of what we can do." The captain walked around the bridge, making eye contact with each crew member. His calm confidence was spreading to the others. Even the youngest ensign started to sit up straighter in his chair. "We spent the last 5 years preparing for this day," Harrison continued. "Our engineers worked day and night creating new defensive systems. Our weapons may look simple, but they were designed by people who understand real fighting. These aliens have been winning battles against civilizations that gave up without trying. Today they meet humans." Lieutenant Dan Murphy at the sensor station reported that the alien ships were moving into attack formation. Their plasma cannons were glowing brighter as they charged to full power. The computer estimated they would fire in less than 10 minutes. "Sir, should we try to run?" asked Ensign Kelly Adams. She was fresh from the academy and had never seen real combat. The size of the enemy fleet was making her hands shake as she worked at her station. Harrison looked at her with kindness in his eyes. "Kelly, we could try to run, but they would catch us before we reached the outer planets. Besides, running is not what humans do when someone threatens our home. We stand and fight even when the odds look impossible. He turned back to the main screen where the alien fleet was spreading out to surround them. Soon they would have no escape route even if they wanted one. The enemy admiral was probably expecting them to panic and surrender at the last moment. All stations report ready for combat, Harrison announced. Amy, open a channel to the alien fleet. I want to send them a message they will never forget. The communication system crackled to life, connecting them to the enemy flagship. Harrison smiled. That same calm smile as he prepared to speak words that would echo across the galaxy. Admiral Corax studied the small human ship through his command view screen with growing irritation. The vessel looked like something built by children using spare metal and simple tools. Its hull was plain gray metal without any of the elegant curves or energy shields that marked a proper warship. The humans had somehow managed to reach the stars, but their technology remained laughably primitive. Report on the human vessel, Corax commanded his science officer. The bridge of his flagship was enormous, with dozens of alien crew members working at stations that hummed with advanced technology. Holographic displays showed detailed scans of the human ship revealing its simple construction. Science Officer Velin consulted her readings with amusement. Her tentacled fingers danced over controls that could analyze matter down to the atomic level. What she found made her laugh in the clicking way of her species. Admiral, the human ship has no energy shields at all, she reported. Their weapons appear to be simple kinetic projectiles fired by electromagnetic acceleration. They use basic metal alloys for armor instead of quantum-hardened materials. Their power source is primitive nuclear fusion rather than antimatter containment. Commander Zalk moved closer to examine the data. As second in command, he had seen many conquered species, but none quite this backward. Most civilizations at least tried to copy advanced technology from other races they encountered. The humans seemed content with their crude methods. How did they even reach interstellar space with such limited technology? Zalk wondered aloud. Their fastest ships barely exceed light speed, while our vessels can cross the galaxy in days. They should have remained trapped in their home system for centuries. Corax clicked his mandibles in the gesture his species used for contempt. In that 700 years of conquest, he had never encountered such a pathetic opponent. Most races either surrendered immediately when they saw the Zephyrian fleet or put up a brief fight with energy weapons and particle shields. These humans seemed unaware of how outmatched they were. Perhaps they are simply too primitive to understand the hopelessness of their situation, suggested Tactical Officer Brix from his weapon control station. Many lower species lack the intelligence to recognize superior force when they encounter. The communication system activated as the human captain sent his response to their surrender demand. Corax expected to hear pleading or desperate offers to negotiate. Instead, the human voice came through clear and confident in a way that made the alien admiral pause. Admiral Corax, this is Captain Harrison of the USS Liberty, the human said calmly. We appreciate your generous offer to surrender, but must respectfully decline. We would, however, like to thank you for providing us with this excellent opportunity to test our new defensive systems under real combat conditions. Silence fell across the Zephyrian bridge as the crew tried to process what they had just heard. No conquered species had ever thanked them for attacking. Most begged for mercy or made desperate threats about reinforcements that would never come. This human was actually inviting them to proceed with the battle. Did their translation system malfunction? Asked Velin, checking her instruments. Surely they could not have meant to encourage us to attack them. Corax studied the human ship again, looking for hidden weapons or defensive systems his sensors might have missed. The vessel appeared exactly as primitive as their initial scans indicated. Its simple hull design had no place to hide advanced technology, yet something about the human captain voice suggested confidence based on more than mere ignorance. Run deeper scans, he ordered. Look for cloaked weapons or stealth technology. Check for any energy signatures we might have overlooked. The science crew worked frantically at their stations, sending penetrating beams toward the human vessel. Their equipment could detect a grain of sand from light years away, but found nothing unexpected aboard the Liberty. The humans really did seem to be facing them with nothing but primitive weapons and basic metal armor. "Sir, all scans confirm our initial readings," reported Velin. "The human ship contains no hidden surprises. They are exactly as helpless as they appear to be." Zalk moved to the tactical display where the human ship showed as a tiny dot surrounded by 40 massive Zephyrian warships. Each of their vessels carried enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Together they could reduce solar systems to cosmic dust without breaking formation. "Admiral, should we simply vaporize them and proceed to their homeworld?" he suggested. "This delay serves no purpose if they refuse to surrender. One plasma volley will end this quickly." Corax considered the suggestion, but something about the situation bothered him. In all his centuries of conquest, he had learned to trust his instincts about enemy behavior. Species that fought hopeless battles usually showed fear or desperation in their communications. This human captain sounded like someone who held a winning hand in a card game. "Sir, we are receiving another transmission from the human vessel," announced the communications officer. The message came through with the same disturbing calm as before. "Admiral, we understand you may need time to prepare your weapon systems," Captain Harrison said pleasantly. "Please take all the time you require. We will wait patiently for you to begin the engagement at your convenience." The words hit the Zephyrian bridge crew like a physical blow. Never in their military history had an enemy offered to wait while they prepared to destroy them. The sheer audacity of the statement left experienced warriors speechless with shock. "This is either supreme confidence or complete insanity," muttered Brix from his weapons station. "I have never encountered anything like this behavior pattern." Corax made his decision with the cold calculation that had made him the most successful admiral in the Zephyrian fleet. Whatever game the humans thought they were playing would end quickly under the crushing weight of superior firepower. "All ships prepare for synchronized plasma bombardment," he commanded. "Target the human vessel and charge weapons to maximum power. We will show these primitives the price of defying the Zephyrian Empire." Dr. Lisa Carter worked quickly in the engineering section of the USS Liberty monitoring systems that no alien scanner could detect. The ship hull looked like simple metal to outside observers, but contained technology born from decades of human innovation. While other species focused on exotic energy weapons, humans had perfected something much more fundamental. The Liberty armor was not just steel plates welded together. Each section contained millions of tiny chambers filled with specialized materials that could absorb and redirect incredible amounts of energy. When plasma beams hit the hull, the impact would trigger a chain reaction that converted destructive force into useful power for their own systems. "Incoming energy signatures are off the charts," reported Lieutenant Dan Murphy from his sensor station. The Zephyrian ships were charging their plasma cannons to levels that could melt asteroid belts. 40 massive warships preparing to fire at once would create enough destructive power to crack small moons. Carter smiled as she watched her instruments show the enemy weapons reaching peak charge. Everything was proceeding exactly as the human engineers had planned during years of secret development. The aliens thought they understood the rules of space combat, but humans had written their own rulebook. "All defensive systems are green and ready," she announced to the bridge crew. "Energy conversion chambers are standing by for plasma absorption. Kinetic weapon systems are charged and locked onto target coordinates." Captain Harrison nodded from his command chair where he sat calmly, watching the alien fleet prepare to destroy his ship. His confidence came from understanding what the enemy could not see. Human technology looked primitive because it was designed to appear harmless until the moment of truth. Engineer Sam Phillips monitored the power distribution network that connected every system aboard the Liberty. The ship had been built around a simple concept that human scientists called energy recycling. Instead of generating massive amounts of power, they designed ways to steal energy from their enemies and use it against them. "Captain, the aliens are moving into final attack formation," reported Commander Ben Rogers from the tactical station. "All 40 ships have weapons locked onto our position. They are coordinating for simultaneous bombardment to ensure complete destruction of our vessel." The bridge crew felt the tension building as they waited for the attack to begin. Some gripped their chairs while others checked and rechecked their instruments. Everyone understood they were about to face the most powerful military force in the known galaxy with nothing but human engineering and determination. "Dr. Carter, are you certain our systems will handle this level of incoming fire?" asked Ensign Kelly Adams nervously. The young officer had read the technical specifications, but seeing 40 alien dreadnoughts preparing to fire was different from studying blueprints. Carter checked her readings one final time before answering. The conversion chambers were designed to handle energy levels far beyond what any single species could generate. Human engineers had assumed they would face multiple enemies at once and planned accordingly. "Kelly, our armor can absorb the combined output of 200 ships this size," she explained calmly. "The more energy they throw at us, the stronger our response will be. We actually want them to use maximum power because it gives us more ammunition." Lieutenant Amy Walsh at the communications station received final targeting data from the alien fleet. Their weapons were locked onto the Liberty with enough redundancy to track the ship even if it tried to dodge. The Zephyrians clearly intended to leave nothing to chance. "Sir, they are requesting one final surrender," she reported. "Admiral Corax is offering to spare our lives if we agree to immediate capture and interrogation." Harrison considered the offer for exactly 2 seconds before responding. His answer would be remembered in military academies across human space for generations to come. "Tell Admiral Corax that humans do not surrender to bullies," he said clearly. "Inform him that we appreciate his concern for our safety, but we prefer to handle our own problems. Also mention that we hope he brought enough ships because 40 might not be sufficient." The message transmitted to the alien flagship caused visible confusion among the Zephyrian command crew. Their sensors showed one small human vessel facing impossible odds, yet the captain was suggesting they needed more firepower. Either the humans were completely insane, or they knew something the aliens did not. "Sir, energy readings from the alien weapons are reaching critical levels," announced Murphy from his sensor station. "Estimated time to firing is 30 seconds, and counting down. All ships are maintaining perfect synchronization for maximum impact." Carter made final adjustments to the energy conversion systems, while Phillips prepared the power distribution network for massive overload conditions. Every human aboard the Liberty understood they were about to witness something that would change space warfare forever. "All stations report ready for engagement," Harrison announced to his crew. "Remember that today we represent not just our ship, but our entire species. Show these aliens what humans can accomplish when someone threatens our home." The countdown reached 15 seconds as the alien plasma cannons built to full charge. Across 40 massive warships, enough energy to destroy planets was focusing on one small human vessel. The Zephyrian gunners waited for the final command to fire. 10 seconds to impact," called Murphy as his instruments detected the enemy weapons, reaching peak readiness. "All alien ships report firing solutions locked and confirmed." Harrison stood up from his command chair and walked to the main view screen where the alien fleet dominated the starfield. His smile grew wider as he prepared to give the order that would shock the galaxy. "All hands, this is the captain," he announced over the ship intercom. "Brace for incoming fire and prepare to show our guests some genuine human hospitality." The Zephyrian plasma bombardment hit the USS Liberty with the combined power of 40 suns compressed into focused beams of destruction. Each energy blast carried enough force to vaporize mountains and turned solid rock into glowing gas. The alien gunners watched their targeting displays confirm direct hits across the entire length of the human vessel. Admiral Corax expected to see the Liberty disappear in a flash of superheated metal and expanding plasma. Instead, his view screen showed something that made his mandibles click in confusion. The human ship sat exactly where it had been before the attack, completely undamaged and apparently unaffected by weapons that had destroyed entire civilizations. Impossible, whispered Science Officer Velen as her instruments tried to make sense of what had happened. Our plasma cannons struck their hull with perfect accuracy. The energy readings confirmed direct impact at maximum power, yet their ship shows no damage whatsoever. Commander Zalk studied the tactical display, looking for some explanation that would make the situation logical. The human vessel should have been reduced to scattered atoms by now. Instead, it appeared to be glowing slightly brighter than before, as if the plasma bombardment had somehow made it stronger. "Sir, the human ship is hailing us," reported the communications officer with obvious bewilderment. "Captain Harrison is requesting permission to speak with you directly." Corax accepted the communication link, wondering what the human captain could possibly say after surviving the impossible. The voice that came through the speakers carried the same calm confidence as before, but now it seemed almost amused. "Admiral." "Corax, this is Captain Harrison," the human said pleasantly. "Thank you for that excellent weapons test. Our energy conversion systems performed exactly as designed. We hope you found the demonstration educational, because now it is our turn to show you something interesting." Before Corax could respond, the Liberty weapons systems came to life with power levels that made his tactical officers gasp in shock. The human ship had somehow converted the entire plasma bombardment into ammunition for its own guns. 40 Zephyrian dreadnoughts had just provided their enemy with enough energy to fight a major war. Weapons Officer Kate Brown sat at her station, aboard the Liberty, watching power readings climb far beyond anything the ship had ever generated on its own. The energy conversion chambers had absorbed every bit of incoming plasma and transformed it into pure kinetic force waiting to be unleashed. "Captain, we are showing weapons power at 400% of normal capacity," she reported with barely controlled excitement. "The alien attack just gave us enough ammunition to engage their entire fleet with maximum firepower." Captain Harrison nodded as he watched the enemy ships scrambling to understand what had happened to their overwhelming advantage. The Zephyrians had made the classic mistake of assuming their technology was superior without bothering to learn how human systems actually worked. "Kate, you may fire when ready," Harrison said calmly. "Show our visitors what humans do with free energy." The Liberty railguns opened fire with a sound that seemed to shake space itself. These were not the primitive projectile weapons the aliens expected, but electromagnetic accelerators that could launch tungsten rods at significant fractions of light speed. Each shot carried the kinetic energy of a small asteroid, moving at impossible velocity. The first projectile struck the Zephyrian flagship exactly amidships, punching through 3 kilometers of advanced alien armor like it was made of paper. The tungsten rod maintained its trajectory after exiting the far side of the ship and continued toward the vessel behind it in formation. Commander Ben Rogers watched his targeting computer track each shot with mechanical precision. The alien. Ships had been designed to stop energy weapons and particle beams, but their shields registered kinetic projectiles as harmless debris until impact. By then, it was far too late to activate defensive systems. Direct hits on targets 1 through 8, Rogers reported as his instruments confirmed each railgun shot finding its mark. Their defensive systems are not responding to kinetic threats. We are shooting right through their shields like they do not exist. Aboard the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Corax stared at the perfectly round hole that had appeared in his command deck faster than his eyes could follow. Emergency systems struggled to maintain atmosphere as air rushed out through the 2-meter opening. His ship was crippled by a simple metal rod fired from a primitive human weapon. "Damage report," he gasped through his emergency breathing mask, as alarms wailed throughout the massive vessel. His engineering crew was discovering that holes punched by relativistic projectiles were much harder to repair than burns from energy weapons. "Sir, we have hull breaches on decks 12 through 40. 7, reported his damage control officer. The projectile passed completely through our primary power core and secondary weapons array. We are operating on emergency power only. Science Officer Valin tried to understand how such devastating damage could result from what her sensors had classified as a primitive kinetic weapon. The tungsten rod had been moving so fast that her instruments had trouble tracking its approach until impact. "Admiral, the human projectiles are traveling at 12% of light speed," she reported, in a shaking voice. "At that velocity, even small masses carry enormous kinetic energy. Our shields are designed to deflect energy beams, not stop physical objects moving at relativistic speeds." Across the Zephyrian fleet, similar reports came in as human railgun fire, found target after target. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds found themselves helpless against weapons that used the most basic laws of physics as ammunition. Energy shields meant nothing to metal rods moving fast enough to punch through planets. "Sir, 7 of our ships report critical damage," announced Tactical Officer Brix, as his displays showed the devastating effectiveness of human weaponry. "The enemy is using our own plasma energy against us after converting it to kinetic force. We gave them the power to destroy our entire fleet." Corax realized with growing horror that his overwhelming technological advantage had become a fatal weakness. The more powerful his weapons, the more ammunition he provided to his human enemies. Every plasma blast that struck the Liberty was converted into another railgun shot that could cripple a Zephyrian dreadnought. "Sir, the human ship is hailing us again," reported the communications officer. "Captain Harrison requests to speak with you about surrender terms." Admiral Corax found himself in a position he had never experienced during 700 years of galactic conquest. His flagship was crippled with emergency systems barely maintaining life support, while the primitive human vessel that should have been destroyed continued firing devastating projectiles at his fleet. The communication request from Captain Harrison felt like salt in fresh wounds. "Accept the transmission," Corax ordered reluctantly. His bridge crew worked frantically around the gaping hole in their command deck, while repair teams struggled to contain the damage. The human railgun shot had passed through the most heavily armored section of their ship like it was empty space. Captain Harrison's face appeared on the damaged view screen with that same infuriating, calm expression. Behind him, the bridge of the Liberty showed no signs of battle damage despite absorbing enough plasma fire to melt continents. The human crew moved efficiently at their stations, preparing for whatever came next. "Admiral Corax, I hope your ship is not too badly damaged," Harrison said with what sounded like genuine concern. "We would hate for anyone to be seriously injured during this educational exchange. Perhaps this would be a good time to discuss ending hostilities before more of your vessels are disabled." The word disabled hit Corax like a physical blow. Across his fleet, 15 Zephyrian dreadnoughts were reporting critical systems failures from human kinetic weapons, ships designed to survive. Direct hits from antimatter warheads were being crippled by simple metal rods fired at impossible speeds. "You have some kind of advanced defensive technology we did not detect," Corax accused through his breathing apparatus. "Our sensors showed primitive armor and basic weapons, yet you have defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy." Harrison smiled that same mysterious smile that had puzzled the aliens from the beginning of their encounter. When he spoke, his words would be recorded and studied by military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. "Admiral, we did not defeat you with advanced technology," Harrison explained patiently. "We defeated you with basic physics and human engineering. Your weapons gave us all the energy we needed to power our railguns. Your shields were designed to stop exotic matter and energy beams, not simple kinetic projectiles." Dr. Lisa Carter joined the conversation from her position at the science station. Her instruments showed that the Liberty had absorbed enough energy from the alien attack to power human civilization for months. The conversion systems were working exactly as designed. "Admiral, your civilization made the same mistake many advanced species make," she added helpfully. "You assumed that complex meant better. We built our defenses around the fundamental forces of the universe rather than exotic technology that can fail or be countered. Science Officer Valin listened to the human explanation with growing understanding of how completely they had been outmaneuvered. The Zephyrians had brought energy weapons to fight an enemy that fed on energy. They had used shields designed for energy combat against opponents who fought with mass and velocity. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Commander Zalk as he watched more ships in their fleet report damage from ongoing human fire. The Liberty continued launching kinetic projectiles with mechanical precision, while their own weapons remained uselessly powerful against an enemy that transformed attacks into ammunition. Korak studied the tactical situation with the cold calculation that had made him a successful military commander. His fleet was being systematically disabled by a single human vessel using weapons that should have been obsolete. Continuing the fight would only result in more damage to his ships and crew. "Captain Harrison," he said formally through the communication link. "The Zephyrian Empire requests terms for immediate ceasefire. We acknowledge that we have underestimated human defensive capabilities and wish to avoid further unnecessary damage to our vessels." The bridge of the Liberty fell silent as the crew realized they had just achieved something impossible. A single human ship had defeated the most powerful military force in known space, using nothing but good engineering and basic physics. Their victory would change the balance of power across the galaxy. "Admiral, we accept your request for ceasefire," Harrison replied graciously. "We have no desire to cause unnecessary harm to your people. Consider this a learning experience about the dangers of making assumptions based on limited information." Lieutenant Amy Walsh opened a channel to Earth Command to report their incredible victory. The message would take several minutes to reach home, but when it arrived, it would transform humanity from a primitive backwater species into a major galactic power overnight. "Sir, shall we escort their damaged vessels to a safe distance?" asked Commander Ben Rogers as he monitored the crippled alien ships. Many of the Zephyrian dreadnoughts were struggling with basic propulsion after taking kinetic hits to their engine systems. Harrison considered the request while watching the alien fleet try to regroup around their damaged flagship. These ships had come to conquer Earth but now limped through space like wounded animals. The tables had turned completely in the span of a few minutes. "Negative, Commander," he decided. "We will maintain position here while they withdraw. Signal all human vessels in the system to monitor alien movements, but do not interfere with their retreat unless they make threatening moves toward Earth." Engineer Sam Phillips worked at his station routing excess power from the energy conversion systems back into ship storage cells. The Liberty now carried enough stored energy to fight a major space battle even without enemy weapons to feed on. The aliens had unknowingly supercharged every human system aboard. "Captain, power levels are stabilizing at 200% normal capacity," he reported. "We can maintain full combat readiness for weeks with the energy those alien weapons provided. Their attack made us stronger instead of destroying us." Across the galaxy, news of the battle would spread quickly through diplomatic channels and military networks. The Zephyrian Empire had suffered its first major defeat in 7 centuries at the hands of a species most civilizations had never heard of. The humans had announced their arrival on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. 3 months after the battle that shocked the galaxy, Captain Jake Harrison found himself commanding not just the USS Liberty, but an entire fleet of human vessels patrolling the edge of their solar system. Earth shipyards had worked around the clock to complete additional ships while recruiting and training crews from every branch of human military service. The USS Freedom and USS Independence flanked the Liberty as they conducted joint maneuvers designed to test their coordination. In combat situations, each ship carried the same energy conversion systems and kinetic weapons that had proven so effective against Zephyrian technology. The small human fleet represented the most advanced defensive force in known space. "Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command," announced Lieutenant Amy Walsh from her communication station. The message carried emergency encryption codes indicating urgent military intelligence that required immediate attention from the fleet commander. Harrison accepted the transmission on his private channel while his crew continued their training exercises. Admiral Peterson's face appeared on his personal screen looking grim with the weight of serious news that would affect their entire mission. "Jake, we have a problem," Peterson began without preliminary greetings. "Our intelligence sources report that Admiral Corax has been recalled to the Zephyrian homeworlds for debriefing about his defeat. The Empire is conducting a full review of their military doctrine and ship designs." The implications hit Harrison immediately. The Zephyrians were learning from their failure and adapting their technology to counter human advantages. Their next encounter would not catch the aliens unprepared and overconfident. "Sir, what specific changes are they making?" Harrison asked, while reviewing tactical data on his secondary displays. Understanding enemy adaptations would be crucial for maintaining their defensive advantage in future conflicts. "Our sources indicate they are developing kinetic shields designed specifically to stop high-velocity projectiles," Peterson replied. "They are also working on new weapons that do not provide energy for conversion systems. We may have won the Panos first battle, but the war is far from over." Dr. Lisa Carter joined the conversation from her position at the science station, where she had been monitoring galactic communication networks for intelligence on enemy activities. Her analysis painted a picture of rapid technological development across multiple Zephyrian research facilities. "Captain, I am detecting increased activity at 17 different Zephyrian weapons research stations," she reported. "They are testing new defensive systems and experimenting with kinetic weapons of their own. The Empire is taking our victory very seriously." Harrison understood that human success had fundamentally changed the nature of their conflict with the Zephyrian Empire. What began as a simple conquest attempt had evolved into a technological arms race that would determine the future balance of power in the galaxy. "Lisa, what is the status of our own research programs?" he asked, while considering the strategic implications of an extended conflict. Earth scientists were also working to improve their technology, but had limited resources. Compared to a galactic empire, "Sir, our engineers are developing improved energy conversion efficiency and experimenting with new kinetic projectile designs," she replied. "However, we lack the manufacturing capacity to match Zephyrian production if they commit their full industrial base to military development." The reality of their situation was becoming clear to everyone involved in the defense effort. Humans had won an important victory, but faced an enemy with vastly superior resources and industrial capacity. Their technological advantage would only last as long as it took the Empire to adapt. Commander Ben Rogers studied tactical projections showing potential fleet compositions for future battles. The Zephyrians could field thousands of ships if they chose to commit significant resources to conquering human space. Earth would need allies to survive such an assault. "Captain, our diplomatic contacts report positive responses from several species interested in forming an anti-Zephyrian alliance," he announced. "The Altarians are willing to share intelligence, and the Centauri Federation has offered to provide advanced manufacturing technology." Harrison nodded, while considering the delicate balance of interstellar politics. Human military success had created opportunities for diplomatic partnerships, but also painted a target on Earth that would attract unwanted attention from hostile civilizations. Engineer Sam Phillips worked at his station reviewing power distribution data from their recent training exercises. The human fleet was performing well, but would need continuous technological improvements to maintain their edge against adaptable enemies. "Sir, I recommend we prioritize development of new defensive systems beyond energy conversion," he suggested. "If the Zephyrians develop non-energy weapons, we will need alternative methods for dealing with their attacks." The strategic discussion was interrupted by urgent alerts from the sensor stations monitoring the outer system perimeter. Lieutenant Dan Murphy reported contact signatures that made everyone on the bridge pause in their activities. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple hyperspace emergence points at the edge of our sensor range," he announced with tension, clear in his voice. Configuration suggests a large fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Harrison moved to the main tactical display, where incoming contacts were appearing as red symbols representing unknown vessels of significant size. The number continued climbing as more ships completed their transition to normal space. Sir I. Count 47 vessels of various sizes. Murphy continued his report. Energy signatures do not match Zephyrian technology, but the fleet composition suggests military purpose rather than diplomatic mission. The bridge crew prepared for possible combat while maintaining their training formation. Whatever was approaching, their system represented either new allies or additional enemies in a galaxy that was becoming increasingly dangerous for humanity. All ships maintain current positions and prepare for potential engagement, Harrison ordered, while studying the approaching fleet. Amy tried to establish communication with the unknown vessels and determine their intentions. The approaching fleet transmitted identification codes that revealed an unexpected alliance of 12 different species united under a single banner. Captain Harrison studied the communication from Admiral Vex of the Altarian Defense Force, explaining their presence in human space with words that would reshape the future of galactic civilization. Captain Harrison, this is Admiral Vex, commanding the newly formed Galactic Liberation Alliance, the alien leader announced through translation systems that made his insectoid features seem almost friendly. We have come to offer humanity full membership in our coalition dedicated to ending Zephyrian tyranny once and for all. The bridge crew of the Liberty exchanged glances as they realized the scope of what their single victory had accomplished. By defeating the supposedly invincible empire, they had sparked a galaxy-wide rebellion that was drawing together civilizations that had never cooperated before. Dr. Lisa Carter monitored the data streams from the Allied fleet while analyzing their combined technological capabilities. The ships represented centuries of scientific development from species across the galaxy, each contributing unique advantages to their shared cause. Captain, the Alliance fleet includes vessels with quantum, shielding temporal displacement drives and exotic matter weapons, she reported with growing excitement. Combined with our energy conversion technology, this coalition has military capabilities far beyond anything the Zephyrians can deploy. Harrison understood that humanity stood at a crossroads that would determine their future among the stars. They could accept membership in the Alliance and commit to a galactic war against the Empire or attempt to remain neutral and risk facing future attacks alone. Lieutenant Amy Walsh established secure communication links with representatives from each species in the Alliance fleet. The diversity of alien life forms on her screen was overwhelming, but their shared determination to resist Zephyrian expansion created unity despite their differences. Sir, we have formal request for military cooperation from the Centauri Federation, the Vegan Assembly, the Draconian Imperium, and 8 other major civilizations, she reported. They are offering technology-sharing agreements, defensive pacts, and coordinated battle strategies. Admiral Vex transmitted detailed intelligence reports, showing Zephyrian fleet movements and military preparations across their territory. The Empire was mobilizing massive forces for what appeared to be a major offensive against multiple targets, including Earth. Captain Harrison, our intelligence indicates that Admiral Corax has convinced the Zephyrian High Command to launch simultaneous attacks against human space and 3 other Alliance worlds, Vex explained through the communication link. They plan to crush resistance movements before we can fully organize our defenses. The tactical situation was becoming clear to everyone involved in the strategic planning. The Zephyrians intended to use their superior numbers and industrial capacity to overwhelm the Alliance before their technological disadvantages could be corrected. The next few months would determine the outcome of conflicts that had been building for centuries. Commander Ben Rogers studied fleet composition data, showing the relative strengths of Alliance and Imperial forces. The numbers were sobering, but not hopeless if their technological advantages could be properly coordinated and deployed. Captain, the combined Alliance fleet includes over 2,000 vessels of various classes, he reported. The Zephyrians can field approximately 8,000 ships, but many of their designs are now obsolete against our improved defensive systems. Engineer Sam Phillips worked with technical specialists from the Alliance ships to integrate their various technologies into coordinated defense networks. The engineering challenges were enormous, but the potential rewards justified the effort. Required. SIR preliminary integration tests show remarkable compatibility between our energy conversion systems and Alliance shield technologies, he announced. We can create defensive capabilities that exceed the sum of our individual parts. Harrison made the decision that would commit humanity to its first galactic war while establishing them as leaders in the greatest military alliance in known history. His words would be remembered as the moment Earth formally joined the community of spacefaring civilizations. Admiral Vex, please inform your fleet that humanity accepts full membership in the Galactic Liberation Alliance, he declared formally. We pledge our ships, our technology, and our people to the cause of freedom throughout the galaxy. The celebration that erupted across the Alliance fleet was audible through their communication channels, as representatives from 12 species welcomed humanity as equal partners in their struggle. The small blue planet that had been unknown 3 months earlier was now a major player in galactic affairs. Dr. Carter received technical specifications from Alliance scientists eager to incorporate human innovations into their own defensive systems. The energy conversion technology that had saved Earth was being adapted for use across hundreds of different ship designs and combat situations. Captain, we are receiving construction blueprints for advanced manufacturing facilities, she reported. The Alliance is offering to help us build shipyards capable of producing vessels that combine the best technologies from all member species. The strategic implications were staggering as Harrison considered the future that was opening before them. Humanity would go from operating 3 experimental vessels to commanding fleets of advanced warships within a year. Their survival was no longer in question, but their responsibilities were growing exponentially. All ships prepare for extended operations, he ordered, while reviewing deployment schedules for Alliance forces. We are no longer just defending our home system, but fighting for the freedom of countless worlds across the galaxy. Lieutenant Dan Murphy monitored sensor readings as the combined fleet organized into battle formations that would soon carry the war directly to Zephyrian territory. The age of Imperial domination was ending, and humanity would play a crucial role in determining what came next. Sir, long-range sensors show additional Alliance fleets converging on staging areas throughout the galaxy, he reported. The liberation of occupied worlds will begin within days. Harrison smiled, that same confident expression that had puzzled Admiral Corax during their first encounter. The humans were no longer just defending themselves, but leading a coalition that would reshape the balance of power among the stars forever. Word of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than the speed of light through quantum communication networks that connected every major civilization. In council chambers and military headquarters from the galactic core to the outer rim, species that had never heard of humans suddenly found themselves studying detailed reports of the impossible battle. The Altarian High Council met in emergency session as their intelligence officers presented data that challenged everything. They thought they knew about space warfare. Chancellor Vex studied holographic displays showing the damaged Zephyrian fleet limping away from human space with 15 ships crippled by kinetic weapons. How many human vessels participated in this engagement? Asked Defense Minister Cole as he reviewed the tactical analysis. The Altarians had been preparing for eventual Zephyrian expansion into their territory for decades and assumed they would need hundreds of ships to have any chance of success. Sir, according to all reports, only 1 human ship was involved, replied Intelligence Chief Nara with obvious disbelief in her voice. The USS Liberty engaged 40 Zephyrian dreadnoughts alone and forced them to retreat after disabling 15 vessels and crippling their flagship. The council chamber fell silent as senior officials tried to process information that seemed to violate the basic rules of military mathematics. A single vessel defeating 40 ships was the stuff of legends. not actual combat reports. Yet the evidence was undeniable and came from multiple independent sources. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Liberty, Captain Harrison was dealing with a communication crisis of his own. Every major species in the galaxy was trying to contact them, simultaneously creating a massive traffic jam in their message systems. Lieutenant Amy Walsh worked frantically to sort through diplomatic requests and military inquiries. Captain, we have received formal communication requests from 17 different civilizations in the last hour, she reported, while managing multiple translation protocols. The Altarian High Council wants to discuss a defensive alliance. The Centauri Federation is offering technology exchange agreements. The Vegan Assembly is requesting detailed information about our weapon systems. Dr. Lisa Carter monitored the ongoing analysis of their recent battle while studying the flood of incoming data about galactic politics. The human victory had apparently shifted the balance of power in ways that would take months to fully understand. Species that had lived in fear of Zephyrian expansion were suddenly seeing new possibilities. Captain, I am detecting several fleets moving toward Zephyrian territory, she announced from her science station. It appears our victory has encouraged other species to challenge the Empire while their forces are weakened and demoralized. Harrison understood that they had done more than win a single battle. They had broken the myth of Zephyrian invincibility that had kept hundreds of worlds in submission. The ripple effects would reshape galactic civilization for generations to come. Engineer Sam Phillips was busy analyzing the energy conversion systems that had made their victory possible. The technology was based on principles that any advanced civilization could understand, but no one had thought to apply them to starship design. Human engineers had succeeded by thinking differently about fundamental problems. Sir, I am getting requests from engineering teams across the galaxy asking for technical specifications on our defensive systems, he reported. Everyone wants to know how we converted plasma bombardment into kinetic ammunition. The requests were understandable, but Harrison knew that sharing such information would fundamentally change the nature of space warfare. Once other species learned to build energy conversion systems, the advantage that had made human victory possible would disappear. The balance of power would shift again. All technical inquiries are to be forwarded to Earth Command for policy review, Harrison decided. We are not authorized to share military technology without approval from the highest levels of government. Back on Earth, emergency meetings were taking place in government buildings and military installations as leaders tried to understand what their single starship had accomplished. Admiral Peterson stood before a joint session of the Global Defense Council, explaining the implications of their unexpected victory. Ladies and gentlemen, our little experiment in space exploration has accidentally made us a major galactic power, he announced to the assembled representatives. Every civilization in known space is now taking humanity seriously as a military force. Defense Secretary Maria Johnson studied intelligence reports showing massive fleet movements across the galaxy as various species prepared to test Zephyrian strength in their own territories. The human victory had lit a fuse that would ignite conflicts throughout the galaxy. Admiral, what is the current status of our space fleet? She asked, while reviewing production schedules for new vessels. If we are now considered a major military power, we need ships to back up that reputation. Peterson consulted his datapad, showing construction timelines for additional Liberty-class vessels. The shipyards had been building slowly for exploration missions, but would need to accelerate production for military purposes. We have 3 more ships of the same class nearing completion, he reported. With emergency funding, we could have a dozen operational within 6 months. However, we will need to train crews and establish support facilities for extended operations. President Robert Hayes listened to the briefing while considering the political implications of their new status. Humanity had wanted to explore the galaxy peacefully, but circumstances had forced them into the role of military power, whether they liked it or not. Admiral, I want you to work with our diplomatic corps to establish formal contact with friendly civilizations, he ordered. We need allies who can help us understand galactic politics before we accidentally start a war we are not prepared to fight. The meeting continued as Earth leaders struggled to adapt to their rapidly changing situation. One successful battle had transformed humanity from an unknown species to a player in galactic affairs overnight.